Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we're in Henford-On-Bagley, one of my favorite worlds in The Sims 4. Arguably, it's tied as my favorite world with Brindleton Bay. I can't lie, I really love Brindleton Bay, but I love Henford-On-Bagley. And I just really wanted to build here. Whenever fall rolls around and even winter, I want to build here in particular, and I don't really know why that is. It just seems to fit. So I wanted to do a family home instead, because I've been doing a lot of apartments lately on the channel, as you've probably noticed. I think I've probably put up like 2 or 3. By the time you see this video, I don't know, but I built this prior to all of those apartments, and I almost forgot about it. I built it at the end of December-ish when I was on my formal break. And I loved it, but I ended up doing a ton of apartments and sharing those first. So hopefully you enjoy this. But it is for a family of, I think, only 3 Sims? Maybe 4? And actually, I think it might only be 3. It might be for 2 parents and an infant, if my memory is serving me correctly. That's really bad. I probably should have looked before I started this voiceover. But it's a pretty big house for a reasonably small family. I believe there is an office space upstairs that you could absolutely turn into another bedroom if you had a bigger family in mind. And specifically, I was making this for a jeweler. Now, you might watch this and say, well, just because you put the, what is it called? Like the table, like the jeweler's table, the gemology table in the build doesn't mean it's for a jeweler. And because it's not very themed, like the house itself, there aren't a lot of things from the Crystal Creations kit around the house per se, and the little gemology table is actually in the shed. That's about it, but I was thinking that the office was for whichever parent was really into gemology, and they ran it as a very successful business. So they actually run their business out of their office, and they do a lot of their work out in their little heated shed, mind you, because I built this in winter. You're gonna see all the screenshots in winter, and I was thinking, I'm like, you'd be really cold out in this brick shed with like a cobblestone flooring without heat. So it is a climate controlled shed where this particular sim does a lot of their gem work. I don't know what else to call it, but I really, really liked this build. I think the interior is probably one of the darker interiors I've done. Y'all know me, I really like my dark wood tones, but I'll talk more about that when we actually get inside, because right now we're doing landscaping, and I went all in with the landscaping in this build. Not that I haven't in other builds as of late, but a lot of the builds that I've done recently, I was just kind of uncomfortable with landscaping all of a sudden again. But here I really got into it. I used the tool mod to size some things up and down, to lower some trees into the actual ground to make them look like taller bushes. It's one of my favorite things to do, of course, during like in live mode when you're actually playing. Live mode, whatever you call it, doesn't matter. Those trees will disappear when you get closer to them, because that's just what happens with the camera functions and stuff like that. But it looks really nice, and it allows for some very colorful landscaping and some just different approaches to landscaping, I guess. Also, if you're wondering about the ground, this lot and everything like that, it looks very different. I do have a terrain override mod in my game right now, and I think, I just remembered this. This is kind of unfortunate. I believe that it flags this lot for having used custom content. I did not use any custom content in this build, but I think because of the terrain override, it flags it as such. So just be mindful of that. If you do want to download this from the gallery, you do have to check that little box that says include like custom content items or something. And it'll be there, and it'll warn you like you might be missing things because it contains custom content, but I promise you it doesn't. It really doesn't. If I do a custom content build, I am very, very upfront with having used custom content, and I often know exactly where the custom content came from, and I try to link it for you all so you're aware of where to find it if you want a particular build. But no custom content here. We are now onto the interior, trying to figure out the floor plan, which was a little bit of a challenge, honestly. The first floor is huge and the second floor is not. The kitchen is probably the biggest room, but we start with the living space, which has no windows. I just realized this. The living space has no windows, but I liked it that way. I almost never do that, but I wanted this big stone fireplace. I wanted a nice bookshelf with a bunch of decorations, and then I wanted a door that leads to the backyard. So there are different ways to access that backyard. You could, of course, do it from the front of the build as well. There's some gates and things near the shed, but I wanted there to be access to the backyard as well. And this was like the best place I could put it in this living room. Otherwise, it was going to be off of the little room off to the right there, which was originally going to be an office or a bedroom, and I made it into a formal dining room. I just thought it would make more sense to have the door in the living room here than the dining room, though my logic is whenever I do a build like this where it's supposed to be kind of an older build, like this is supposed to be an older brick cottage, the floor plan might not make as much sense, right? It might not make as much sense to us. So I just left the door to the backyard and the living space, and I really liked it. And I loved using this rug from Life and Death. I've actually been using it in a ton of my builds lately. I really, really enjoy it. I loved patterned rugs in a bunch of different colors and color schemes in general. So I've really been enjoying it in a bunch of different kinds of builds. And then as you can see, I use this wallpaper from Base Game. It's very dark, but there is still a lot of color, I think, throughout it, which was really nice. And I've been doing this a lot lately too, so you can obviously make an adjustment as you see fit, but I did not include a television in this living room in this build. I feel as though the logical place would be kind of on the mantle over the fireplace here, but I really just wanted to decorate the mantle in a very pretty way, and I added a mirror, which is pretty much my go-to. I'll get rid of the wall, and then I'll use the tool mod to make it look like there's a mirror that is kind of leaning on the mantle, and I thought it looked really pretty. So maybe this couple just doesn't watch a lot of television. Maybe they enjoy reading more, which would make sense because I added a little reading nook in this living space, which I loved. Maybe they enjoy being outside more, right? So outside, you're going to see a ton of different activities too. Like there's a chicken coop, we've got the beehive, gardening boxes. And one of them, of course, is very into making jewelry and things like that. So I feel like they just have a lot of different hobbies that take up their attention compared to sitting and watching television. It's just who they are. And now that they have an infant, a lot of their time is occupied by caring for the infant and then also balancing that with engaging with their hobbies and stuff. So you could, of course, change that. Add a television if you want. It's a great item to have in a home when playing The Sims, but I did not add one here. So that's that. Anyway, I don't know. I've done a couple of voiceovers in the past week or two, but today I'm just like off my rocker and I don't know what it is. I'm just not with it whatsoever. I have been lost. I've been trying to like pluck a word, right? I go to say something, there's a particular word, and then it just completely leaves my brain. Just like head empty, gone. I'm like, what was I saying? Like, I don't remember what I was doing anymore. What was I trying to say to you? What word was I trying to think of? That's where I am today. We're working on the dining room, which I absolutely adored. I love the dining room. It's very simple. There really aren't that many decorations in this dining room because I thought it would be a little bit too cluttered, a little bit too busy if I added any more than what's in there. But we also have, like I said, this little reading nook, which I loved. It's mainly because I just didn't want it to be a bathroom right off the living room. You could do that if you wanted one there, but I wanted something a little bit different, so I added a high-backed love seat, the one from Cats and Dogs, that matches the armchair in the living room. And then I added this like stack of books on top of the suitcase from Cats and Dogs. I don't believe, because I just don't remember now, I don't use that item that often, I don't believe that's a active bookshelf, but there is, of course, one in the living room, so that's not a problem. But I thought it was a nice, peaceful, quiet area for one of the Sims to just sneak off and like read a book. And then we decorate this little entryway, which is sunken by one platform, I believe, and I added some wardrobes and another bench. That way your Sims can change into whatever weather appropriate items they need to before they leave the house and take those off when they come back in the house, because that's how I always play my game, or at least I try to. And then we have this little hallway where the staircase kind of winds up. We have a console table, and then I put a standing piano because you know me at this point. I'm going to put a standing piano in pretty much any house if I have the opportunity, because I've been waiting for a standing piano for so many years in The Sims 4, and we finally got one with Growing Together, and then Horse Ranch and things like that. But that's when I added this little portrait decoration from the Storybook Nursery kit, and that's kind of what sparked the idea of this family that lived here, because I knew there were going to be at least the opportunity for 3 bedrooms upstairs, but then I thought, why don't I just do it for maybe a couple that didn't think they could have children, or maybe they just stopped trying after some time, and then miraculously, as they were kind of getting on in age and approaching that time where having children probably wouldn't be feasible for them anymore, they found out they were pregnant with like their little miracle baby. And I thought that that was kind of a nice idea because it's an older house. Maybe they're adults compared to young adults, you know? And perhaps elderhood is kind of around the corner. That would be a little bit rough, but it's happened before. And I just thought it was a really nice idea. So they're very established. They're successful in their jobs and things like that. And all of a sudden they found out that they were going to have their miracle child, and they were just overjoyed. They were just so thrilled. See, that's what that little tiny portrait sparked. Like, that is one of my favorite things that happens when I build in The Sims sometimes. I'll go in and I'll have an idea for maybe a theme of a build. Like for instance, this is just like make an English cottage and make it cozy and kind of old looking on the interior. But as for the family dynamic, I had no idea. And then I put down that one little portrait and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a story. And it just made me so happy. Oh, and I should probably mention there are 2 full bathrooms in this build, as well as a laundry room. So it's a decent sized house. Like I said, you can, if you have a different family in mind and you need that office to be turned into another bedroom or something, there's space for your Sims to grow in this house with very minor changes. I always like mentioning that because this is me. Okay, so when I download builds, I want them to be perfect for the family I have in mind. Because I build so much, listen, I'm lazy. When it comes to my own gameplay, I just download other people's builds because I am not building things individually for my Sims because it takes forever. So I like playing in other people's builds as well. They make me feel warm and fuzzy. I like it. But if it's not like the perfect build for my family, I am so lazy and I will not make adjustments for that family. And I would rather spend my time, apparently, this is my sarcasm coming out, apparently, I'd rather spend my time on the gallery looking for the perfect build than making adjustments in like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'm going to emphasize that if you're not lazy like me, please make adjustments to this build as you see fit if you have a different family in mind. Honestly, like I don't know what I'm on about today at all. We're working on the kitchen and I did add a couple of brick, I guess we'll call them accent walls, just because I figured in the kitchen and maybe in the bathrooms, though I didn't do this, but I thought that the kitchen would be the most appropriate place to have kind of some of the old brick coming through on the interior to match the exterior. And I really liked this kitchen. I usually do kitchens first. It's either the kitchen or the living space, depending on what the inspiration is for the build in the first place. But this kitchen, I tried it as the first room and I couldn't narrow down anything. I was actually really frustrated with myself. So coming back to this kitchen and looking at it now, I'm actually so thrilled with how I ended up piecing things together. So we do have a full dining table here as well. So that's kind of nice to have the formal dining space as well as this informal space. And even though it's only for a family of 3, maybe because they are older and they didn't have their child until later in life, they have like a really, not saying that if you have children early in life, you don't have core groups of friends or big groups of friends, but I think that this couple has absolutely dedicated their time to building that support system and that huge group of friends. And maybe their house is where everybody comes together for meals and game nights and things like that. I thought that would be nice. So they ended up getting bigger, fuller dining sets, even in the kitchen, because they'd have people over. Maybe they do like a potluck thing. I don't know. It's just an idea, but I really liked it. I had a bench near this window over here. And then I also have the little wood burning stove because I thought that was nice. And I didn't forget to put radiators in every single room. If I missed one room, so be it. But I tried. I put in a concentrated effort to have a radiator in every single room because it was supposed to be an older home. That's also why I put the wood burning stove in the kitchen. I thought that was kind of maybe a nod to the fact that that was the original wood burning stove in the kitchen for not only warmth, but maybe for preparing like tea and stuff because it's got the little teapot on top. I don't know. I was trying to think through some things. Might not make sense to you, but it makes sense to me. Now we do have this pretty big landing space, but I added a big wardrobe from Horse Ranch and a couple of other just miscellaneous decorations and things. We have the full bathroom up here, the 2 bedrooms, and then the office. And the primary bedroom, I have to admit, it's a little bit small for me. I've made this size bedroom before, but the primary bedroom is a little bit on the smaller side, and it's oblong, like it's very long, it's narrow. It probably would have been a good idea to make it a tad bigger. I might have had the opportunity to do that, but I didn't, so be it. And this is the full bathroom that I decorated very quickly. And for some reason, I really struggled to lay that out. I knew exactly how to do it before I got into that bathroom. And then I just completely blanked, but I figured it out eventually. And here I am adding all the radiators. Yes, adding all the radiators to all these spaces to make sure I didn't forget. And then we work on the nursery. And this was actually a challenge because my first go of it, I was making a kid's room, even though I had the thought of a infant. So I don't know why I was doing that, but I really wanted to make it a little bit lighter, but stick with that green theme. So I wanted to use the Storybook nursery kit, and I did. I used the crib from it and the changing table, though I did use the same rug that I used downstairs from Life and Death. We've got the mobile and that little like overhang thing at the end of it. I thought it was so pretty. You don't see it unless the walls are up, but I thought it was really nice. And it's very scarcely decorated only because it is a tiny space and they're just little infants. So I didn't add a ton of activities or anything like that, but I should have added blocks. I don't think I added blocks on the floor. I should have done that. You know what I haven't been doing lately is I haven't been putting the like little tummy time mats down in nurseries unless I have a lot of space to spare. Primarily because you can put those in your Sims inventories, so I don't make them permanent fixtures in rooms nowadays. But essentially, if you have a family with an infant, I'm hoping that you put one down somewhere and put it in your Sims inventory and they can take it out when they need it. And now here's the primary bedroom. Like I said, very small. We've got a dresser, the bed, the 2 side tables, and not a lot else going on. Oh, I remembered to put hampers at least in the bedroom here too. I don't think I put them in the bathrooms, which would have been a good idea, but at least I put them in the bedroom. That's something I always forget too. If I actually add laundry, I will forget to add real hampers because I'm so used to putting those faux hampers from base game in a lot of rooms. Wow, I actually remembered. I was on it. I was on it this day. I really was. I'm proud of myself. This ends up being the office, which is a bit cramped, but I use these new bookcases from Life and Death. They're gorgeous. I think I mentioned this in, I don't know, a recent build at some point. When Life and Death came out, I ended up being super sick for like months, and it wasn't fun. And I basically didn't play around with Life and Death or even look at the build and buy. So I've been exploring it through doing other builds here and there. And these bookcases are just chef's kiss. I love them. They're so pretty. And I love that we have them in different wall heights as well. Come through, Sims team. Do it. Yeah, that's great. The office is almost done. We've got an armchair in the corner. That's pretty much it. But there's a computer, the desk and everything, and a bookcase. Again, there aren't a lot of like trinkets to gemology and jewelry making, but that does more so come out, I would say, in the shed. And now we're working on the backyard as well as the shed. I'm just doing a little bit of terrain painting here because I wanted to add a little bit of mud, considering we've got chickens in the backyard. I did add this stump over there in the corner because I wanted there to be some wild bunnies. We've got some gardening pots here, the big ones from Outdoor Retreat, a little bench because I feel like they're just going to come out here and just like watch their chickens. And as their child gets older, they're just going to sit on this bench and like watch their kid bond with their animals and stuff. It warmed my heart. We also have a bike, and then we work on the shed, which is where the gemology table is, as well as some other miscellaneous things like fertilizer for their garden. I added the cross stitching box inside. And then I think it's just a couple of other decorations really in that shed to make it look more like a shed. But again, I wanted it to be a heated, functioning workspace for that sim that's really into making jewelry. But this is pretty much it for the build. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Don't forget, there is a sale going on from January 6th to the 26th. And if you use a creator code, you get a 5% discount on packs and pre-made bundles. Woo, I feel like I'm out of breath. Okay, I hope you like this one. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I ain't afraid of the dark. Once you let the light in, you won't see the beautiful stars shining down from afar. No, I ain't afraid of the dark. I don't mind the rain, bringing life back. We can breathe again when dealing with the pain. No, I don't mind the rain. Ooh, that's the way it goes. Life will teach you what you need to know. And ooh, like a river flows, life will take face that's been through life, it's so much easier to see who I am and who I wanna be. No getting old, don't bother me. Truth can be a bitter pill, but it'll do you right and set you free the way a lie never will. Like climbing up the steepest hill. But truth can be a bitter pill.